Good morning. Although I do have a confession. It is not morning and it is not Sunday. In fact, I'm actually being super efficient and I'm actually pre-recording this on Friday night. Why am I doing that? Well, it's all to do with the white background that's behind me. I'm on a photography course, I'm on a studio photography course this weekend, and I'm currently setting my cameras up. Hence the reason why there's a white background behind me. So I thought, because I'm on this course, I would do this early, super efficient, so I can post it on Monday morning. So those of you who are really bothered will get the Sunday morning rant at the normal time. So, 3 things made it to my rant list this week. I'm going to start with item 3 first. I'm just checking my notepad. We all order stuff from eBay. It's a part of life now. You know, go to eBay or go to Amazon, order your bits. Especially if it's legacy tech for the studio, eBay is where it all comes up. So, when I was away in Switzerland, up came an item of equipment that I've wanted for a while, another piece on my synthesizer bucket list. I haven't seen any of these come up in Europe. Or the US, actually, funny enough, but there probably has been, but I've not been looking at the US, but I've not seen anything come up in Europe. And I saw this thing came up from a vendor in Japan. Now, I know how the unit is put together because I have actually seen inside the unit, so I knew I can use the unit on a 240 volt supply. So I thought, oh, okay, that's fine. So I placed an order, put a bid in, I won it. And it only cost me $30, wasn't expensive. Actually cost me more to ship it, which was $60, but I wanted the piece of equipment. Now I also know that when I order things from Japan, it normally takes between 3 and 4 weeks to get from that end of the world to this end of the world. And that's jumping through various hubs, however it's been shipped, and then clearing things like UK customs. And when it clears UK customs, what normally happens is the courier company is responsible for bringing it in. If there is a customs or duty charge, they will then write to you, say, can you give us some money, please? You pay them, and that releases the goods from customs, from wherever they're held, and then they get delivered. Right, so that's the background of the story. Beginning of last week, I thought, this thing should be turning up about now. It hasn't turned up so far. I'll just log on and find out where it is. So I did. I logged on and I followed the tracking number, only to be greeted with a line that said, being exported to Russia. And I thought to myself, why is it going to Russia? I am really confused. So then I tracked it back up the list and it said, attempted delivery. And then I'm really am confused now because I don't have equipment delivered here. I don't have equipment delivered to the studio. I actually have equipment delivered somewhere else. And I do that because I know that the place where I have equipment delivered normally has somebody in all the time. And if somebody's not in all the time, there are people around who can accept equipment on behalf of that address, or the card comes through that says we tried to deliver, we couldn't deliver, and I can arrange either to go and pick it up from the depot, or another member of the family can go and pick it up from the depot, or I can rearrange the delivery time. Okay, so I've set it up like that for a very good reason, and one of the biggest reasons is where I live outside this property. There's no real area to leave parcels. Okay, because of the way the property is configured. So, you know, if a courier turns up, they can't leave anything, and you know, quite often I'm not here for various reasons. So it just makes sense to have them all sent there, and then, you know, periodically when the person who lives there rings me up and says, "Come and pick your rubbish up," I trot over there and pick it up. But that's the way I've had it set up for a number of years now, and it works like a dream. And I've never ever had this problem. So, first of all, I rang the person who lives at the address and I said, have you received any cards that haven't been acted on? And of course I got told no. You know, anything with a customs charge or anything like that gets sent through to me and I pay it, and then, you know, they either go and pick it up from the depot, or it gets delivered again. So they said no, everything had come through and I've paid everything, so there's nothing there. So I thought, interesting here. So I thought I'll contact the vendor. And I started the email to the vendor saying, I am confused. Why is this piece of equipment going to Russia? And the vendor decided to ignore me. So I thought, right, fine, you want to play that game? So I'll open a case with eBay. So I've done that. So now the vendor has responded to me and said they are willing to give me a refund of the purchase of the item, but not of the shipping cost. And I said, but your courier hasn't tried to deliver it. Because if they had, I would have had a card saying they tried to deliver it, and I would have obviously acted on it. But we haven't. So they haven't. So I'm not paying the shipping charge because your courier has made a muck up of this. So they've come back and said, no, you pay the shipping charge, but we'll refund you the item. So I said, no, not having that. Either you deliver me the item or I want the lot back. All the money I've paid you back. Now, this is where eBay and PayPal really come into their own. So if you're going to deal with any vendor on eBay, my advice is always pay by PayPal. Because PayPal and eBay have ways of getting the money back. All I have to prove is it's never been delivered. Well, I've never had it. I've got a tracking thing that says never delivered. So they should now go into bat for me and I'll get my money back and this vendor will get a black mark against him. The second thing that comes into play here is the fact that I think the vendor hasn't been truthful to me, because what I think has happened is I think the vendor has resold the item to somebody in Russia, hence the reason why it's been exported to Russia. Because, to be honest, if it was being returned to Japan, I'm not sure it would go via Russia from the UK. It would probably go via another route from the UK, not Russia. So I think the vendor's been rumbled here in that he's trying to pull a fast one and your number's up, somebody. So, there you go. Story of woe. I'm a bit annoyed about it because I did actually want this piece of equipment, but if it doesn't turn up, it doesn't turn up. As long as I get my money back, that's really the important thing here. Anyway, so last week there were several comments on the channel about the MX-1 and the rant piece I had about the MX-1 and port 3 having power and the other ports not having power and the boutiques won't plug into it, I'm not going to go over old ground. Anyway, somebody pinged me on the channel and said, well, you know, I've got the whole thing working. I've got all four, my boutiques plugged into all four channels and it's working like a dream. And I thought, maybe I'm missing something here. So I did a bit of investigation. I put a couple of videos up on the channel this week about those investigations. I still haven't managed to get the boutiques working through my MX-1. Now, what I did do is I put a couple of caveats on the investigation I've done so far. So the first thing, as I said, is I'm not sure my MX-1 had the latest firmware on it. So it's possible there was a firmware update that had happened following the release of the boutiques that needed to go onto the MX-1. That I wasn't sure about. So I went on the Roland website and I discovered a couple of things. The first thing I discovered was that Roland has issued new drivers for the latest version of High Sierra on the Mac. What does that mean? Well, it means that there's obviously a problem because they've introduced new drivers. So there were drivers for the prior version, which was 10.12, and now there are new drivers for the new version 10.13, and that doesn't surprise me. So I've now started a program of updating all my drivers on the Mac for the equipment I've got, because obviously the drivers I had are all out of date. Whoopee. Anyway, that's by the by, so that's possibly one of the issues, but not probably the issue. So then I got onto the MX-1, and I looked at the MX-1, and I found out that the version of firmware on the MX-1 is 1.5. I'm running 1.5. Now, here's the rub. Roland haven't released any firmware for the MX-1 since September 16. Seriously? Since September 16 they have introduced no new firmware for the MX-1. Now I am pretty sure that a lot of the boutique equipment was not released at that point in time, which means that they really are not supporting the boutiques on the MX-1, because I can't believe, and I've looked through all the notes around the MX-1 and what it does and doesn't support, and not one place is a boutique mentioned. So my first comment here is, Roland, pull your bloody finger out. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that, but you know what I mean. Pull your finger out. This is, you know, are you going to support these on the MX-1 properly? That's the first thing. Although my experiment did show that the boutique equipment is receiving a control signal from the MX-1 in terms of things like time signature via the USB cable. So I have proved that that is working. So that's the first thing that... So moving on from that, so then a couple of people have then sent me more links, more comments, and a link to a couple of videos. And one of them shows another English guy actually powering his MX-1 up using Y splitters. So basically what he's done is he's got a cable, he's splitting the USB cable into two USB cables using a Y splitter cable. Onto one of those cables you can put power, so he's putting power on one using a normal USB male-to-male, you know, a male-to-male USB cable instead of a USB to a USB to a USB-A cable. God, that's a mouthful, isn't it? USB-B to a USB-A cable. Yeah. So he's got two USB-A ends on the cable. Become clearer, I'm sure it will. And that's how he's getting power into the thing, and then obviously he's using the other side of the Y is the data side, and he's using the data side to actually push that through. Now I haven't got any splitter cables, so what I've done is I've gone and ordered a couple of splitter cables just so I can test it, because I'm sure I can get this working. I just need a bit more head scratching around it. So thank you for everybody who has sent me comments. I'm not there yet, but hopefully I will be there soon. So, how long have we gone? Oh, that's not too bad. So the final thing I'm going to talk about this week is the new things that have arrived in the studio. So, the first thing that has arrived is this. There you go. You can just see the lights on either side coming into view. So you're going to say, what is that? Well, this is a fully functioning display for a DX7 Mark II. And these are like absolute gold dust. They really are like gold dust. Now my DX2, the writing on it is becoming very, very faint. And there's nothing you can do about it. I've tried all kinds of things, and apparently there's not a lot you can do about it. So the thing is on its way out, and I know that. So I've been looking for one of these for a long, long period of time. Now you can get the display for a 1, and loads of people seem to be knocking those out. You know, there's new displays, black on white, sorry, white on blue, blue on white. You know, so there's lots of displays out there for the 1, but not for the 2. One of the biggest reasons for this is, and you can see that whoever got this out has just slightly broken it. But look, can you see that there? That bit there, right? So that should be square, and it's not. It's that's the best way to see it. You can see it there, right? So that bit there should be square, and he's actually broken that one. He's getting it out. But actually the real reason for it is that this front perspex piece here is actually glued to the screen that's underneath it. So what I thought is I want to put a new screen in the DX7 before too long. And I thought probably the easiest way to do that was to actually buy a second one, and then unglue this perspex piece from the actual screen, so that I can get a new screen in there, because there is a vendor out there who has got a screen for this thing, but he's not sure about it. There's some wiring that needs to be done. I said I'd be a guinea pig for him, and then obviously rebond it back on. So that's what I'm thinking of doing with that. We'll see what happens, or I can put that one straight into the DX7 and then use the one that's in there for the experimentation. Either way, we shall see what happens with that. But these really are like gold dust, absolute like gold dust. And this one is absolutely immaculate. There's a couple of scuffs and marks on it, but other than that, it really is immaculate condition. So I'm quite pleased that I managed to pick that up. The other things to arrive in the studio is a plethora of discs. Okay, so I'm going to start with these first. And I'm pretty sure I haven't put these on, because these are actually, I say these have arrived, but actually these arrived a few weeks back now, and I have been sitting on the side because I haven't really been taking any. There you go. So these are all original TRAM discs for the T1. So there's TDS3, TDS4, TDS6 and TDS7. So I've only got a load of TDSs to go. But that's what they are. They're the original discs, the original Korg discs with the RAM, the voice chart in there, and the original disc. So I'm always one for grabbing hold of, that's better, the original if I can get hold of it. I actually do already have these on something else, but they are the originals, so I thought it was worth putting in a cheeky bid, which is exactly what I did, and grabbed hold of those four, which is all good. The second thing that happened is I then saw a thing up on email about the full set of TDS discs. So they're the originals. There is a full set of all 10 TDS discs. I say all 10, of course they're all out of sequence now, but there's number 10 there going, like so. So I've now got all 10 TDS discs actually, and 4 of those are actually duplicated because I've got the originals now. But there is a guy in Czechoslovakia who has a way of duplicating these things, and this is where these came from. And what I'm trying to do at the moment is work out how do I create an image of these. I don't necessarily want to copy them. What I'd like to do is create an image of these so that if the disc fails on me, I can go back and create a new disc from the original image. So I'm not sure how to do that at the moment. I've been doing the research, and every road I go down seems to end in dead end at the moment. And Bruce, who you hear me mention on numerous occasions, actually went back to the guy in Czechoslovakia and asked him about it, and it turns out he's running some sort of PC that was built by Fred Flintstone in the cold days, and he's using a piece of emulation software that won't work on anything newer than something like Windows NT, so that tells you how long ago it was. So that might be causing a problem. There must be a way of duplicating, or at least being able to create an image of those discs. I just don't know what it is. And the other thing that turned up this week was this, and it hasn't even been in the D series yet. And the reason it hasn't been in the D series yet is because I don't actually have one of the D series keyboards actually in the studio at the moment. They're in storage. But this is the D series D series Studio series from Is it Valhalla? Yeah, this is from Valhalla, and they did a whole raft of these cards, if you like. So there you go. There's that one. And they've got all various sounds on them, and the reason why I collect these, apart from collecting the cards, is the fact that quite a lot of the sounds that end up on these things, or are on these as they are, quite often ended up in some quite serious music. And therefore, rather than having to try and recreate the sound, you can just pop the PCM sample in, or the PCM card in, and get it that way. So they turned up. I did have something else on my rant list for this week, but to be brutally honest, I'm not going to do it this week. I'm going to actually defer it to next week, which will probably be also recorded in advance. I'm not sure. Let's see how I go. Anyway, I'm going to shut up for now and say enjoy your Sunday, because I will be enjoying my Sunday. And in fact, actually this week I'm going to get full bacon and eggs breakfast. I'm really looking forward to that, because I've been on a diet since Christmas, as many of you will recollect from my video. So I have been on a diet, and this is the first time I'm going to have a full English breakfast, and I'm quite looking forward to it. Unfortunately, I have to go back on the diet next week. Oh well. Until next time, sayonara, bye-bye. So this is the point in the video where I turn around to you and say, if you enjoyed the contents of this video, please give it a thumbs up. It allows other people to find this content more easily that you have enjoyed. I'm sure by now, if you didn't like the content of the video, you've probably given me a thumbs down, but I'd prefer if you didn't. If you'd like to be notified about when I post additional content to this channel, somewhere about here should be the subscription icon. So please click on there and subscribe to the channel. Over here should be other content that you may enjoy that I've already done or posted to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again.